I just finished putting together a sample library that I've been referring to as the Wildmother's Dulcimer. It started out initially as just a way to immortalize a hammered dulcimer that I inherited from my grandfather. This library is a cross-pollination between the expected articulations and a lot of really impressionistic, pointillistic, things that I think evoke imagery more than the other patches would out of the box. So instead of me rambling on here any further, how about we just jump into these and I'll explain as I go. Right out of the gate, here's the GUI, close, room, and hallway. Close mics, it's an XY pair. The room mics, just a wider stereo pair way behind me, catching a lot of the nice hardwood floor. The dulcimer sounded really good in this room. And then the hallway mic is interesting. This is tucked around a corner, back near a bathroom. I just kind of wanted to throw this somewhere and see if I could just get the feeling of someone's playing the dulcimer in the bedroom down the hall from me, and it's a charming thing to hear through the walls. That's more of the energy of that. Around it are these rings, denoted with little jade notches at the top. Those are your left and rights. Each mic position can be moved in the stereo field as needed. All right, so let's just hear the hammered sound. The next patch that I want to showcase is the hammer and trem combo. The shift between those two categories is triggered by the sustain pedal. I have it set up in such a way that the sustain pedal will not induce endless sustain, in that you can play those notes as you intend to play them. When you hold in the keys, it'll sustain endlessly, the sample loops. But then when you lift the keys, despite the sustain pedal being down, the release trigger will still be initiated, the note will end. I'll demonstrate some of that. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Let's get to the stuff that you're probably not going to be able to find in every other Dulcimer library. And these patches are the reason for the name, the Wildmother's Dulcimer. Playing the Dulcimer has this sort of golden hour glimmer to it. It feels like dappled light through leaves. First things first, what the hell is 10 billion butterflies? This is actually me with an ebow, and then on my other hand, I'm going to find the exact one. Okay, I'm not certain that this is the exact sock. I think it might be. But you put these two together and you get the ability to do tremolo motions without a fingernail catching or without a thumb dampening the sound. It was quite cool. It was almost kind of like a bow. Each movement instigated something evenly, once I kind of dialed in how to flick my wrist. So just getting a constant tremolo going like this, while the ebow was creating an underlying ebb of the actual tonal information. The combination of those two things is really quite lovely. This might be one of my favorite patches on the library. Okay, the next thing to note is that the GUI is markedly different than the last. This one has attack and release. This release knob is a little bit different. It's not the volume of the release triggers as it was in the last patch. It's the decay time or the release time on any kind of classic envelope control. This would be your release and then this would be your attack. So how long it takes to get there, how long it takes to leave. The next thing that sticks out here is this little section. We have a knob with a water droplet beneath it, a knob with a couple of series of arcing motions denoting wind, a leaf, and the sun. Each one of these mixes in the return signal for a convolution effect. I actually personally put together these convolutions. They're really strange and unorthodox. The water droplet, for instance, is recordings of water. Droplets recorded at the surface of the water, as well as a contact mic that was wrapped up in saran wrap, submerged, and then submitted all sorts of bubbling sounds, sloshing sounds, you name it. Was quite truthfully a really enchanting way to inject sounds of the natural world into this instrument without it becoming some kind of music concrete experience. But let me just show you what I mean. Out of the 12 patches that I've made for this library, 4 of them use these nature elements. Other than the 10 billion butterflies, the 3 that remain are dripping branches, cedar splatter paint, and meadow chimes. Each of these 3 are slightly different from the 10 billion butterflies in that while they're sustain-based and almost like pads, these fall far more closely to the category of pointillistic playing, or if you're familiar with the Spitfire range of swarm-based instruments. Now, because it was just me, my Dulcimer, and I wasn't able to get the really lush, even sound of a room of people playing these instruments together. Rather, it struck something quite cool, which is it never leaves the realm of being an instrument. You don't lose the instrumenthood or the sort of like essence of a player being there, but it also does ascend into some kind of, especially when playing densely voiced chords, it lifts itself into some kind of otherworldly presence of said instrument. It's quite cool, actually. For the sake of time, I won't go through all of them, but I will go through dripping branches, and I'll kind of use that as a vehicle to explore what sorts of different things are possible straight out of the GUI. It's that sort of thing that I think is really the magic of this library. At the very least are some excellent workhorses to sort of build a mood, and then the pragmatic sort of obvious articulations are so well suited for those beds of sound because they're intrinsically related to each other. Alright, the last one on the menu here is Electromagnetic Mahogany. Way more straight ahead. No knobs to be seen outside of the mic positions. This one's really cool. This is our good friend, the EBO, once again. But rather than getting a sock involved, I just really tediously found a way to line up the EBO to bring a swell out of the string without it sustaining, and then found different positions for my hand to be in so that I could create velocity layers for this, with the highest being one where the string vibrates so much that it rattles just briefly against the EBO itself, giving you a little bit of a zing to accent the note. I'll just go ahead and play through a little bit of this one since it's pretty self-explanatory, or its sound is self-contained, I guess. And I believe that just about wraps it up. For any patch that I could, I captured 3 full octaves chromatically. Some of the patches didn't allow for that. A cheeky little percussion patch, there's a bowed patch, a harmonics patch, those are all limited range. For anything that was really velocity sensitive, like the hammered and plucked patches, I did 3 round robins, 4 velocity layers. All patches have all 3 mic signals, and of course, I got to have a lot of fun making this GUI, which was far more satisfying and fun than I imagined it would be at the outset. All in all, gosh, what a special project. One that certainly started personal, just a way to capture this wonderful instrument forever for my own use, but gosh, I'm so happy to share this. I feel like it really has a home in Piano Book, seeing how Piano Book has flourished. So a good amount of the patches are going to go up there, and then I'm going to see about distributing the rest myself. Go on over there and nab what's on Piano Book. Stay safe and well, everyone, and thanks again.